Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story about how a quick brunch outing turned into a lesson in parking lot manners. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. You ding my car, you suffer the minor inconveniences. My girlfriend and I were out to pick up a quick little brunch where we live in a smaller country town. Big trucks, some yeehaw, etc. I'd parked my small two-door hatchback dead smack in the middle of a parking spot out in front of the eatery, backing up to the curb with no car on either side. We got back into the car with our food, and as I was getting settled, securing our food for the road, locking in the promise of a tasty future, and buckling up, a well-equipped lifted pickup truck speedily pulls in forward on my driver's side. The truck, of course, is right on the line between our parking spots. Okay, Captain, but you could do better. Anyways, I turned my head to watch the driver get out of their tinted window truck, and then bang, little bang, but bang, this redneck crack-smoking looking 30-something-year-old opens his door right into the side of my car, then belligerently oozes his fat, bloated belly down out of his truck, looking me dead in the face, and chuckles, then walks off with his trailer trash-looking girlfriend who'd been watching after she exited from their passenger side. She then smiles too, looking at me, and they go inside. Okay, F you too. I checked for a mark, and thankfully my car was unscathed to the naked eye. They can't even ding a car right. But I didn't appreciate them hitting my car, then laughing while their empty, non-thinking eyes met my scowl. Well, my girlfriend and I have some hot sandwiches and some time to kill, so I turned my engine on, pulled out, and right back into my spot, leaving such a tiny gap this truck driver's bulbous beer gut would have claustrophobic nightmares about. We enjoyed our breakfast sandwiches in my car while I excitedly bubbled in anticipation for this buffoon's return. I didn't much care for the flavor of the smoky bacon added to my sandwich, but still a 6.5 out of 10. As I was set to finish my last couple bites, in perfect timing, the bird's nest-haired passenger, wearing her stained baggy sweatpants, spaghetti-strapped tank top, and worn-out Crocs, in what must have been 4 degrees Celsius, stomps in front of my car. Move your effing car! As I watch her, a smile grows on my face and grows wider still when I see this huffing and puffing man in my rearview mirror, standing arms crossed and hopeless to enter his vehicle. They weren't smiling anymore, casually chewing and swallowing my last bite of my brunch. It somehow tasted better in this moment as I was starting to taste the sweetness of my little petty revenge. I rolled down my window to politely inform them they had dinged my car and should be careful next time. Like a petulant child caught being naughty, she begins yelling out, "No, we didn't! No, we didn't!" Relax, I'm not going to put you in timeout. I assure them that the driver did indeed, and they know it. I reiterate it for them to be careful next time. They continue yelling out, "We didn't! Move your effing car!" and so on while they grow red in the face. Now I'm the one with the big grin, and they're butthurt. I take my time to get my car turned on and crawl out of the parking spot, giving them a surly, photo-worthy, joyous smile with pearly whites, dimples, and all. They dinged my car with no sense of accountability or any kind of sorry, so I took up just a couple minutes of their time and soured their mood. I made sure not to stick around because I didn't want these Cro-Magnons following me back home, as they seemed the type to do something stupid, and I had my girlfriend's safety to look after too. Learn to drive and not be imprudent. I would have waited till one of them crawled across from the passenger side and then pulled away. Nicely done, OP. And our second story. I'm not your server, though. This happened around 8 years ago while I was doing my baker's apprenticeship, and it happened where I had worked at the time, so it fits, I guess. A bit of info. The bakery I worked at did not have set times for break. The boss simply called out our times one after the other. On top of that, bakers dressed differently than the servers/clerks. So the boss had just called out that it was my turn for break. As we bakers always did, we went up to the front to grab something to eat and drink. I was waiting by the machine for my drink, just staring out the windows when I hear an "excuse me." Since I was clearly not a server/clerk also on my break, I ignored it. Not only that, I saw a server/clerk just out of the corner of my eye, hanging off to the side talking to someone in the office. Naturally, I thought the customer was attempting to get her attention. After a minute, I hear another "excuse me," if a little more forceful this time. Again, off the clock and not someone that works up front, so I once again ignore it. Just as the machine is done making my drink and I go to grab it, the customer reaches over the counter and shoves a plate into my hand instead. Customer: "Excuse me, I've been calling for you." Me: I'm in utter shock. This customer actually grabbed my hand and forced a used plate into it. Customer: "I need more butter." Me: "I'm sorry?" Customer: "Butter, I want more." Me: "I'm sorry, but I don't work." Customer: "Don't lie, you clearly work here since you're behind the counter. Now go get me more butter." Me: "But I'm..." Customer: "Butter, now!" I was so shocked that the customer had actually reached out across the counter and grabbed my hand that I left my drink and went to the break room where I knew another front worker was. She was surprised, thinking I'd already finished my food when I told her what happened. Of course, she thought I was joking and laughed it off, but I told her the guy was still at the counter demanding more butter. After taking a peek, sure enough, he was huffing and puffing while waiting for his butter. She said she'll take care of it so I can go grab my drink and get to my break. Of course, when I returned without his plate or butter, he got upset. Not loudly, but it was visible on his face. Customer: "Where's my plate and butter?" Me: "A server will be with you in a moment with your plate and butter, sir." Customer: "But I gave it to you to get me more butter." Me: "Sir, not only am I on my break, I don't work up front. I work as a baker." Customer: But you still work here." Me: "Yes, as a baker." "Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll be going back to my break. My coworker will be here with your plate and extra butter shortly. Have a good day." At the end of my day, the coworker in question pulled me aside before I left to share her part of the situation. Apparently, the customer got upset with her when she returned with his plate and extra butter, but also couldn't believe I was actually a baker and not a server because I'm a girl. It took her to pointing out that what I was wearing, white shirt and apron with baker/chef pants, to what she was wearing, red shirt with black apron and pants, that it seemed to sink into the customer's head that I was indeed a baker. Not only that, when a worker's on break, they're off the clock. The customer didn't seem to agree with her. Apparently, I shouldn't have ignored him and should have just served him whether I was on break or not. Completely unacceptable. He had no right to grab you or to be so rude. You should have gone to your supervisor and he should have been walked out. And our last story. My pool is not a motel room. Background: I'm a combat veteran and a school teacher at this time, and my wife was a school teacher as well. So I bought my first house 12 years ago. It was in a low middle-class neighborhood with a lot of working-class families. My house had a pool in the backyard, and my parents bought me and my wife a hot tub as a wedding/housewarming gift. 2 weeks after moving in, we found a stranger and 6 teenage kids swimming in our pool when we got home. We'll call them Entitled Mom, EM, Entitled Daughter, ED, Entitled Son, ES, and the others I assumed to be their friends and or boyfriend. ED was about 18 or 19 years old, and her brother was about 17. When we told them to get out and get off our property, the EM told me that the previous owner gave them permission to come over whenever they wanted to swim. I explained to her that I was the new owner and that I was not okay with it. I told EM that not only do I not know them, but there's a legal liability for me if they got hurt. She yelled and fake cried, saying I was being a bad neighbor, selfish, and forcing her kids to sweat in the summer heat. She told me that if they died of heat stroke, it was my fault for not letting them swim in my pool. I told her to get the F off my property and never return. Fast forward 2 weeks. I'd put up a no trespassing sign on my property in multiple spots and had gotten to know many of the not entitled neighbors. They were great and told me to ignore EM and her kids. They told us she was already bad-mouthing us, but no one ever believed her. Now, I start to notice when I wake up in the morning that there's evidence of people using my pool and hot tub at night when we're asleep or away. I find beer cans, cigarette butts, and even a used condom. I figure it has to be EM and or her brats. So I install cameras on the grounds and start videotaping. Sure enough, I catch Edie and a few others hanging out in my pool Friday nights when my wife and I are out. Friday nights, she goes to a friend's house for movies and wine, and I play Warhammer 40K or card games. I figure they must have been waiting for us to leave and then threw a mini party or were quietly swimming while we slept. So I discussed it with my wife and decided to teach EM and her brats a lesson. So the next Friday night, I park my car a street over and my wife does the same. We wait in the dark house to see if any of them come over. Edie and I assume her BF, ES and I assume his GF, and 4 other couples come right over and start skinny dipping in my pool and hot tub. Why a bro and sis would do that together still bothers me. I wait 45 minutes for them to get really into their fun, and 2 are actually having sex in my pool. Then I spring my trap. I go out with my rifle, Ruger Mini 14 with 20-round magazine for you gun enthusiasts like me, pointed at the ground but at the ready. When I reach the pool, my wife flips on the back lights and I yell for them to freeze or I'll shoot. My wife calls the police meanwhile. They all have the deer in the headlights look on their faces, and not one of them tries to speak for a good minute. The ED starts to tell us that she has permission to be there and that we need to let them get dressed. I tell them that if they move towards me or my property, that I would consider them to be charging me or reaching for a weapon and I'd shoot. They must have believed me because they froze. One girl begged me to give her clothes while she was trying to cover her breasts with her hands. Not being a total jerk, I say that I'll throw them all their clothing. I then walk over to their pile of clothing, phones, and purses and throw everything into the pool. They freak out trying to save their phones and other goods. After 10 minutes, the police show up and they have the kids climb out of the pool wearing their soaked clothes and trying to shake their phones dry. I show the police the videos from our cameras, the no trespassing signs, and explain to them that I had told them and their mother they were persona non grata and the kids were arrested for trespassing, possession of a controlled substance, underage drinking, and indecent exposure. The police recommended that next time I leave the gun in the safe and let them come and get them. I told them that I thought they may attack my wife and I had to stand my ground. I proved that I never pointed at them with the videos so I couldn't be charged with anything. As the kids are being loaded into the police cruisers, EM shows up yelling at the police and my wife and I. She demands that the police let them go and even tries to open the door on one of the cruisers. The police threaten her with being arrested if she doesn't back off and leave my wife and I alone. I later found out that the charges against the teens were reduced and they all got plea deals. They all got community service, fines, and were put on probation. We got a restraining order against entitled mom and her brats so they couldn't bother us again. Aw, she deserved it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.